Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Magazine for this August 4th, 2021. Your host, James J. Malouf, here today. And we are joined by our Wood County Sheriff's Department. Yeah, I did this the second time I've done that, sir. I'm trying to combine Wisconsin Rapids Community Media and you guys. I'm just starting a whole new outfit for you guys. We do have our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Thank you, and good morning to Kev and our friends over there. And yes, the Wood County Sheriff's Department is with us. Sheriff Shawn Becker is here. Shawn, how are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Great to see you, James.
Good to see you, man. Thanks a lot for being with us today. I know that we always have a handful of things that we like to start the show with. If you don't mind, I wanted to kick it off with, were you able to be a part of the National Night Out?
I was not.
Okay.
But we did have a few of our folks from the Sheriff's Department there. Our MRAP was there, our armored vehicle, and other representatives. But that's a great opportunity for the folks to see our local law enforcement officers. I know Wisconsin Rapids Police Department organized it, and they asked us to be part of it, and we obviously graciously wanted to be, and we're really appreciative of that partnership. The Grand Rapids Police Department were there. So the reason why I wasn't there, I'm coaching football again this year at high school, and we opened up with our first practice last night, and our practices run from usually 4 p.m. until around 8 p.m. So last night was the first practice, so get through all the chaos of getting the equipment out, getting the numbers in, all the information that players have to bring in. So it was a little chaos in the beginning, but shaped up to be a pretty good practice. So that's why I couldn't be there. But I know Lieutenant Sager was there, our rescue unit was there, and it's just the National Night Out is a great opportunity for our people, our community to come out and hang out with some of our local law enforcement officers.
Well said. It's a really wonderful thing with all of that, and the from the feedback that I heard, a lot of people enjoyed it. Certainly, the kids were having fun with a lot of those things, and that's certainly want anybody to have a good time. But the kids are where my focus goes with a lot of this, and building that bridge and making those relationships stronger. The older they get, and when they have children, maybe raising them that way. Sure. We had Detective Davin in last week, and I'm got to find out if Eric was in the dunk tank. I'm dying to find out if they was in that dunk tank. I want pictures.
I should have been there. I would have dunked him for sure. Eric does a great job.
He's great. Yeah,
he has a great partnership with Special Olympics. He's our contact person, and it's nice to see a lot of those events coming back. I know Run with the Cops will be coming up. I know that'll be on at least a couple of shows and some advertising will be due. But and then Cop on a Rooftop is coming up. I'll get that date on our next break, but that's going to be the next event that we partnered with Special Olympics. And like I said, Eric does a great job being that contact person, for our local Special Olympics. So it's nice that Dunkin Donuts, we've got 2 of them now in our county, one in Marshfield and one in Wisconsin Rapids, that we'll be at starting at 5 a.m. and running until probably around 10, where people can come in and visit with us and the athletes and then make a donation to, just a great cause.
Before we go any further, would you mind turning the mic a little bit? Thank you. I don't know why, but it's having a hard time picking you up. It was doing that to Allie earlier too.
Sure.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I wasn't planning on going this route, but calling an audible here, something occurs to me, and Eric, it was something that started with talking with Eric, and he brought up Special Olympics, and this was off the microphone. We were talking off air about a lot of this, and you mentioned you coaching football again this year. I know that you were also a part of the aqua team, aqua skiers. So many of our law enforcement and our fire department and people in these industries, they do other things along with the job that they're doing, which is all designed and working to make our area safer and all community based. And you guys continue to do, even when you're off time, you're doing something like this that's adding to the community. And you, Eric, there's 100 other stories out there in 100 other communities like this. That's noteworthy. I got no question or no statement here. Just that's noteworthy to me.
Yeah, no, a lot of our law enforcement officers, whether it's at the sheriff's department or police department, they get involved in the community. Whether it's coaching or another organization, or just get involved with like Rotary or the Lions Club or Elks Club or your church. You'll find that, most of the staff that we have and other police departments do that. They get out, and I look at it as an opportunity to, all right, you get to know the person behind the badge. You get an opportunity to, hang out with somebody, just talk, and it's not about law enforcement, it's about the person. That's where, for me, the opportunity to coach, it really kind of fell in my lap 7 years ago. Head coach at Lincoln High School, Tony Biolo, was a good friend of mine. We went to college together, played football together there. And then, so I've known him for a long time. And then for me, both of my daughters were kind of on their own, and I had more time on my hands, and it kind of fit. So it's great. And now that I'm in my 7th year, what's really nice, coaching's all about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at the level I'm at, I'm seeing them towards the end of their high school career. And most of them probably won't play college football. A handful do, but that's it. And
Statistically,
and that last game is pretty emotional. And and I always say to the kids, don't be a stranger. Reach out. It's great to hear that you're going to school, that you're being successful, and a good handful of them that I still talk with are coming back to our community. One in particular is a fireman for Wisconsin Rapids, and he was one of the first kids that I had the opportunity to coach. That is really rewarding for me, not only just to be out there and working with kids now, but to see the success, afterwards, so that just boils back to those opportunities that we get to, engage the community at a different level, not a law enforcement level, but at a personal level, and people get to know us.
And kind of goes back to one of our first conversations about one of the things that I wanted to do in this job was humanizing you guys, humanizing our representatives, humanizing anybody basically that we have in these positions that we've gotten too comfortable as a society taking shots at and taking, getting these keyboard cowards, getting online and thinking we know what it's like to be in your shoes and that sort of thing. These things that you're speaking to do that on a bigger level, on a deeper level, on a very one-on-one kind of thing that's so important. And I'm glad you brought up the fire department as well, because that's one of those ones that doesn't get brought up enough. And one of those things we would love to have them on the air with us. I've been trying to reach out to them a bit.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. It helps to have connections.
I'd love to bring somebody on with me, especially that that I helped coach during their high school football career. It's and I want to take the opportunity to talk about Coach Biolo. Every year, he's very community oriented, where the team is getting out and helping out. They're encouraged to volunteer in the community, and then they every year take on a cause. They'll dedicate one game, do some fundraising for them. Well, it's the pink game where they're raising money for cancer research or foundations, or in the last few years he's been dedicating a game to military, to our local military folks that are encouraged or asked to come out to one particular game and present the flags and the colors to the stadium and do the just getting out there to be recognized. And that's happens every year. There's a game dedicated. Well, this year, this wasn't my idea. He came up with that idea back in the badge, and there's going to be a game against Hortonville on September 24th. That game is dedicated to the law enforcement officers, and we talked about that and recognizing the police officers and law enforcement officers that went through Lincoln High School. And there's obviously a good handful of them that played football at Lincoln High School for Tony. So this is going to be a great opportunity to recognize those people that wear the badge, that took part in a program that I love, being football, and came from went through Lincoln High School. So hats off to Tony. That was his idea. It was approved, and that's going to happen on 24th. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Tony, for stepping up and doing that, and the support from, the school district to move forward with, with this game. It just means a lot. As I've said in any public speaking opportunity, it never gets old when somebody comes up to us in the public, whether we're stopping at a convenience store to grab something to eat or on a call or just out and about, and you have interaction with the public. When somebody comes up to you and just says, pats you on the back or shakes your hand and says thank you for your service, you don't know how much that goes such a long way, especially right now, the way some people are viewing law enforcement. I don't think it's around here or so much in our state. It's just, when you get into that national media where they are grasping on to, terrible stories, but people are, law enforcement officers, 99.9% of them are good. And it's just that 0.1% or 1% that is out there that we have to do a better job of trying to be 100%. And we do try, but it's just hard to see, especially the last, several years where the national media just grabs stories and runs with, making it all look bad, because it's quite the opposite. So getting back to what I was saying, that it means so much to us to hear that community support.
And support, encouragement, it costs nothing, can mean everything. And to your point about the national media, it's why here in our media, we make it a point to, our heads aren't buried in the sand. We own up to the fact that there is that 1% out there.
There is.
But we also make sure that people are, just as much as we talk about that, we, if not talk even more about the good stories. We do our good stories of the day, and virtually 1 out of 3 of those involve a police officer and a youth or something like that. And these stories, there are just as many of those stories as there are of bad police officers. Unfortunately, you got to hunt them down sometimes. Unfortunately, the media doesn't give those to you, and that's a very, very difficult conversation for some. But it really isn't on the surface. If you just take a moment and step back and ask, what are they gaining by having this perspective? And I'm talking about media outlets. I'm talking about the journalists in particular. What is their agenda here? Are they doing their journalistic duty and not putting their own perspective on this, just giving you facts, or is this an opinion piece? Is that, because anytime, no matter what the topic is, somebody's coming, you have to ask yourself, where are they coming from on this? Why are they standing on this pulpit? Why are they willing to die on this hill? What is it that they're gaining from this, or where are they coming from on it? When it comes to these stories, they're there though, and I think to one of the things you said there about in our area, you're right. We don't have that as much in this area, and I think that's there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them certainly is, having people trained to do the job properly and treating people with respect, even in the worst of situations, even when, 9 out of 10 of us wouldn't be able to handle it that way, but you guys do. And kudos to you for that. But also things like this right here, these open conversations, these willing, not every, sheriff is willing to have these kind of conversations. Not every police officer is. I've talked with Chief Melvin about these things. Virtually everybody that we've had in this room, we've had this conversation, and everybody is open. Everybody's like, this is an open book here. Let's talk about it. Let's get it done. And that kind of helps. That helps. That goes a long way, instead of just trying to brush it under the rug or act like it's once in a blue moon it happens. We know better by now. The statistics are what they are. Right. But they also, that's another thing of this where, okay, let's say it is 1% of police officers. Why are we not also focusing on the fact that means that 99% of them are doing their job and doing it under the circumstances that very few of us could handle? That's a good point. It's a way to. It's all about spin. It's all not. Politicians shouldn't be the only ones that get away with that. You should be able to spin things good. You should be able to spin things to the positive as well.
No, and I understand at the national level. Someday I'll learn to talk.
Teach me how to when you do. When you learn,
we'll go to classes together. Right? But I understand that there's a story to be told, and stories do sell, and I do understand that, and it's just frustrating to see the bad rap that, the proud organization that I've been part of for my professional career that I love, get speed up when, that's a small percentage of us, and like I said, just going back to, people coming up to us and just saying thank you. That goes a long way. That's the point of this discussion.
One other thing that doesn't get talked about with this that a lot of people don't want to say is these outlets, these newspapers, these magazines, these TV shows, these programs, these networks. They're doing this. They have an agenda, and that agenda is money and ratings usually. And they're not going to continue to do these things if nobody's watching.
Right.
I mean, part of it stems from us as a society as well, going to these stories. I used to marvel at the fact that, there'd be a ton of Chicago Tribunes out and there'd be still newspapers left, but all the National Enquirers were gone. Like, I could never figure that out as a kid. And as I got older, realized that's people pull to that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we have to own some of that too as a society. Say, there's a reason, that this network is the #1 rated network or whatever, because they got a lot of eyeballs on it.
Right.
They're not doing these stories if people aren't watching. So there's a two-prong here. Everybody's got to take some responsibility on this one.
And I get it. There's a market.
Right.
I understand.
I do. I do appreciate the conversation, though. I always look forward to these things. I also feel bad, though, because I know that you have things you want to get to. Where did you want to start today?
First of all, last weekend we had a funeral for a passing of one of our deputies, that a retired deputy, Don Sedal, 1985. Had a great career at the Sheriff's Department, ended as Sheriff Bodette's undersheriff. Had many, many years of retirement, good for him, but he did pass, and the family reached out to us to have our honor guard there and be present, which I was very fortunate to be there along with some of our other staff. So, rest in peace, Don. Thank you so much for your career to Wood County. We appreciate you and your family, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, I second that. Big thank you to him and his service and his family. And I'm glad that the family part of this comes up too. It's something that I thought about the last time we talked. And you had mentioned your daughter and getting married and stuff. And again, mazel tov on that. That's fantastic.
They're still married.
Yeah, still married, still married. It comes to mind also with the Olympics going on, and to reach here a little bit. But I think about these athletes we're seeing, but I also think about the parents that drove them to practice when they were 10, and those things. We don't do it on nothing we do on our own in life. It takes our team, it takes our family, our tribe, helping us get there. So that's a nice note to mention to the family, I think, as well.
Yeah, being in a law enforcement family, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And you got to recognize the people that are part of your foundation at home. That makes us all succeed, bottom line.
And I imagine that it's a moment that's really got to pull at the heart, and also have a mixed bag of that and having some pride. Being proud, like you said, to be there and be asked to do that, the honor that is involved in that, and getting to do that for someone. That's got to mean a lot too.
It does. It does. And then I wanted to mention that the Remington Fire Department did us a really nice donation. Chief Rodney Brockman, his wife, handmade a quilt for us for our canine unit, and did it all by herself. Take a look at our Facebook page. We posted it yesterday. She had made one for the fire department. It's a volunteer fire department. They did a really nice fundraiser, a few weeks ago. They're raising money for a new truck, and they did really well. And they had a blanket themed for their fire department that that they auctioned off, and they I think got like $1,500 for it. And when I was there at that fundraiser, we just got to talking. I'm like, hey, would you do this for the sheriff's department? And his wife Jan jumped on it. It took her a few weeks, but she personally made this blanket, this quilt with paw prints on it and our canine patches. And take a look at it. It's on our Facebook page. What we're going to do is take bids on it for probably a couple months. So you can make a bid through email, and we'll keep track of that. And that money will go towards our canine unit, our Acacia Foundation that we have. So again, thank you to the Remington Fire Department and that partnership, and especially Jan and Chief Brockman for stepping up to partner with us. It's always nice to, especially with the volunteer fire department where, people have their own jobs, and they come back just to give back their community. That's huge. And Remington's a pretty rural area. And, again, hats off to all of our volunteer firemen, especially, just recognizing Remington Fire Department today. One of our corrections officers, Suzanne Pearson, she's one of the lieutenants. She's part of that fire department. So, that volunteerism just goes not just beyond with our deputies, but you'll see a lot of our corrections officers do the same thing. But again, getting back to it, if you're interested in the blanket, take a look at it. It's on our Facebook page, or stop down at the sheriff's department. It's really neat. It's handmade, and we're hoping to raise some more funds for a canine unit.
I have to check that out. I always love those things, and I'm probably going to put a bid in too because they're amazing. As a side note, I admire people that can do that. I really do. The knitting and all that. I
couldn't.
I feel like all I would do is just handcuff myself somehow. Somehow I would. That's all. I admire that work. That's really, especially when you take that work and donate it. When you
Right.
take something like that you made, it's the only one in existence,
Right.
and to give it up, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna have a hard time not bidding on myself.
Yeah, right on. So what else do you have for us?
I had some promotions at the sheriff's department, just with some movement, some retirements. But we had Brandon Christensen, one of our canine officers. He was promoted to a patrol sergeant. Brandon's from the Wisconsin Rapids area, a Lincoln High School graduate. He was an athlete. I believe he's a wrestler. And then Eric Rosenditch was promoted to investigator sergeant. He's from the Marshfield area, graduated from Marshfield High School, and played football there. So he had some experience with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department before we hired him. He's had several years with us, and his dad used to be the sheriff for Clark County. So he's got some leadership blood in him, but a great sheriff, Louis Rosenditch. Louis, great person. I had a honor, had the opportunity to meet him, and that was an honor. And then Nathan Dean was promoted to patrol lieutenant. He was a sergeant previous to that. He came from the Eau Claire area. One of those, I wouldn't call him a wild card, but when we have that part-time deputy program, and we hire a lot of our full-time people from that program because we get an opportunity to work with them. We already have done the background investigation, and we know them. When Nate interviewed many years ago, he came in and he interviewed very well. We took a chance on him, and now he's been with us for many years, and he's doing an outstanding job. So, three promotions, all leadership positions that are moving forward. So at some point we'll do a badge pinning ceremony, hopefully within the next month or two. All three of them are now in their positions, so they're doing a great job. So just recognizing them and their commitment to our department, and congrats to all three of them for moving forward in their career.
Salute. Congratulations to all of them.
And we just hired one new deputy, Riley Wierski, out of the Pittsville area. So he just started last Monday. So he's on his first phase of training. Again, a good local kid from the Pittsville area. I know he's an athlete, and where he was an athlete, and we're real happy to have him be part of our team.
Excellent. Really good news, too.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff to hear from all of that. I do have, before we go to break, I have just a sort of a roundabout question here. I imagine this is pretty similar, but most jobs, somebody gets hired, somebody moves up, and somebody else moves into that next position. How does that work in this level of things when it comes to a sheriff's department or a police department? Is it the same type of thing?
Yeah, very similar. Obviously when we hire a new deputy, somebody that retired at some position, whether it's from a patrol or a supervisory position, they're replacing that person, and then what we'll do is a promotion process. We'll put out a letter of interest to the department. There's some qualifications that you have to have for the position. Basically, it's just a couple of full-time years of experience with us, and that'll qualify you for some of our leadership positions. So you put in for it, submit a resume, a letter of interest. Next thing is a test. And then from there, we'll have outside panel come in to interview these people, some law enforcement people from other areas, and then they'll rank them, and then we'll do another interview internally. And then there's a points process that we put together, and whoever finishes on top gets the position.
Interesting. Thank you. It is a little different than I would have expected. All right. Interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll take a quick break, get that out of the way, come back. We'll have more with the Wood County Sheriff's Department and Sheriff Shawn Becker with us, along with Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, Kevin, the gang from there, right here on Morning Magazine, AM 1320, WFHR. We have Morning Magazine. We are joined by Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, Kev over here. We have Sheriff Shawn Becker from the Wood County Sheriff's Department with us as well. Shawn, I wanted to ask about the new jail. I wanted to talk about that a little bit with you. Any news on that?
Yeah. I know we talked about the county voted to move forward with a new jail. So we're working with the city of Wisconsin Rapids to vacate Avon Street. The county owns both sides of that street. So that's the direction that they're proposing to put the new jail. So that's part of the next phase of what we're doing to work with the city of Wisconsin Rapids. And then We're also in the process of hiring on an architect and a project manager, which I'm sure will probably happen by the end of the week. So we'll have those two things going on simultaneously. We're working with the city, and then now we're working on the design of the new facility. So that should start to move pretty quick, where there's going to be lots of meetings on both those topics. So that's moving forward right now. So we'll be doing some more messaging out in the community about, which we've done a lot. We just did a presentation to the Noon Rotary on it. And basically what Laura Valenstein and myself did was just go out and present what we have been presenting. You know, we did a couple of town hall meetings, one in Marshfield, one in Wisconsin Rapids. And, you know, the presentation is available on the county website. I encourage anybody that has any questions on why we made this decision to check out the presentation, and it will answer a lot of questions. And I got to give it to our county board, you know, starting with our chairman, Lance Plimmel, for putting together that ad hoc committee with people that if you talk to, like Laura, you know, before we started that committee, they weren't in favor of building a new jail. But once we looked at it as a team approach, you know, not just county board members, sheriff's department people, probation, parole, other law enforcement, finance, our maintenance folks, you know, coming together as a team and really answering those questions that weren't being answered, we came to that vote of an 18-1 vote and moving forward. So I got to give, you know, those people on the ad hoc committee, those county board member, you know, folks, along with Lance and everybody on our county board, for just taking a look at this very seriously and moving forward with it. So the next steps are, like I said, the design phase and working with the city of Wisconsin Rapids. Like I said, we should have the architect and the project manager, you know, signed in a contract probably very soon. I really got to give our maintenance supervisor, Ruben Van Tassel, a lot of credit, because he's kind of been shouldered with moving the project forward as the representative of the county. Now, he's not alone. You know, he's going to have many of us, you know, working with him, and he'll be working with the project manager and architect as we move forward. But he's doing an outstanding job. He and our corp counsel, Peter Kastenholz, have been sitting down looking at the contracts very closely, you know, with the architect and project manager, and they have Wood County's best interest as we move forward in this huge project. So we're moving forward. We're hoping to break ground. The goal is sometime the spring of next year.
Okay, that's what my next question was. I was curious, especially as we're getting closer to the, of course, what we all know in Wisconsin is coming, the winter. So
yeah, no, there'll be, you know, a lot of things with the vacation of Avon Street. You got to look at, you know, the utilities in there, what has to be moved in there, you know, how is that going to impact, you know, the city. A lot of the utilities, from what we're understanding, are servicing the courthouse. So there shouldn't be a big interruption for the, you know, the local residents in the area. And people have to realize that the jail's already there. All we're doing is really essentially moving it. So, yeah, so that project's moving forward. I'd love to fast forward 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. So there'll be lots of meetings as we move forward and get that project rolling.
I thank you for bringing up the board, and any chance we give a shout out to Lance, we want to take it. We love Lance around here. We love our whole board around here. But it also speaks to how important this is, how much impact this is having. That this many people, especially the idea of the person shifting opinion on this. That's important, because I know that I've talked to a number of our listeners that have done that. They felt one way about it at first, and now they've come around to it. I'm curious to know, because you and I have talked on air, off air about this. I never felt like you guys should have to be the ones championing this, and you didn't either. To be fair, you guys were never out and about saying directly this or that, just giving facts and information. I respect that a lot. I feel like as a society, as a community, we should have been doing that for you. You know, you got enough on your plate. We should have been saying, hey, we got to make sure that our officers, everybody's safe, etc. But with all that being said, and where we are now with this, is there some relief? Like, I know there's still work to be done. There's a lot of going forward here. But is there any bit of relief for you, for your staff, for people that this is literally affecting immediately? Like, this is a safety thing in so many levels. There's a lot more to this. Your average citizen, you might feel this in a you know, certain ways, some certain inconveniences. But you guys, it's every day you walk into the job, this is something you're going to be having to think about. And
kind of some sense of, relief, if you want to look at it that way, because we've been talking about it coming up on, since I started my term. That was the first thing that we identified as a team, with county board members. Hey, we need to take a look at this again. All right. There's a lot of things that are coming up between our contracts for out of county housing, the interest rates. I mean, a lot of things were coming up. Hey, we should probably at least take a look at it. And that's when the first jail study came into effect with Venture Architects, that was presented in July of last year. And then we kind of sat in a little bit of a lull for a while. And then when, Chairman Plimmel put together the ad hoc committee, that's when things started to take place. So to me, it's one sense of relief that that's the direction that we're moving in, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So I guess that light at the end of the tunnel has gotten a little bit brighter, but we still got a long ways to go.
Understandable. Do you mind taking a call, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a call. We got somebody calling up here. Good morning. You're on the air with the Sheriff Becker. Hello? Well, I think he's a great guy, too, and everything, but I don't know if that's worth calling. I don't know if the audience could hear that or not, but yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. But please feel free to call back. And we do like to mention, if you do have a question for Sheriff Becker, he's willing to take that call, 424-2600. I did want to get to also, or did you have anything else you wanted to touch on with that?
That's pretty much it, unless you had another question on it. I know we've covered it for probably the last couple of years. We've talked to, about the jail and many different levels, but that project's moving forward now.
I will say one more time, if you wouldn't mind reminding people of where they can find out the information about it.
On the Wood County website, you can find the presentation, both presentations, the one that Venture Architects did in July of 2020, and then also the one that was presented recently within the last few months. It's on there. Like I said, if you have questions on the project, that's where I could talk about it all day. But if you want to just take a look at that presentation, the reasons why, the direction that we're going, they're all there.
Oftentimes, especially with laws, I think we especially as a society, we have assumptions. We have certain things that are, some of them are understandable. You're driving down a road you haven't been down a lot of times. You'll go to 25 because you assume it's at least 25. I mean, it's certainly, you don't want to take into factor that it might be more than that in your speed, and then you get caught for speeding or something. There's certain things that we do with that. One of these is our own front yards and our own lawns and what we put out in our own, houses and on our front yards and everything. Since the last time we talked, I've had 3 different listeners in different ways ask me this basic question. I don't know if that's what that call was or not, so I'll just hit on this from our listeners. As the old radio show host thing, where from our listeners, we've got this letter here. But the political signs thing, I hear from people, and this is one of those things where, again, it's both sides of the aisle. I've had people asking me, hey, why is this person got a Biden sign still? Why does this person got a Trump sign still? That sort of thing. I will say real quick as a side note, nobody gets to make fun of people keeping their Christmas lights up anymore. Like, I don't care if it's March and you've got your Christmas lights out. I don't think we get a chance we can't complain anymore about that when people have got political signs out and the election was, last year. That's a joke. I'm just trying to find a light way into the conversation here, because for some reason, this is very divisive this is a very divisive topic. And when I ask these people, well, why are you asking this question? Is it bothering you? Is there something about this that's, interrupting your day? And that's what it came down to. They may have not worded it this way, but what they were saying was, I'm sick of the divisiveness. And all that does is show separation again and making a statement about this. It also brings me back to when we were kids. Do you remember, and it feels like this was 50, 60,000 years ago, when it was an insult to ask somebody who they voted for? You would never do something like that. You talk about sex, you talk about a million other things before you would ever ask somebody who they voted for. Now it's they're wearing it on their sleeve. They're welcoming, they're going up to strangers and telling people who they voted for. Like, it is a question, though, and it is something that has come up from a couple of people. Is there any ordinance, is there any law about this?
Good question, because we did deal with that on a couple occasions and did some research on it. Lieutenant Joe Zerflu did that research for us, and a lot of it does boil back down to freedom of speech. That did play a part of it. Where law enforcement get involved, you have to look at where you live. If you're in the city of Wisconsin Rapids, take a look at their ordinances or whatever township you might live in. As long as the signs aren't in the right of way, I believe they still can be left up. And the ones you're right that you're seeing are from the last presidential election. People have been leaving a lot of those up or flags.
Not a lot of Truman signs out there.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. But, we have gotten complaints on it. And from what I recall in the research that we did is it's boiling down to as long as they're not in the road right away, people can still leave some things up, and it's, boiling down to freedom of speech.
Yeah. And to me, I don't think I'm too alone on this one. I love my freedom of speech. I use it every day. I understand that freedom of speech is not just for me and my thought process and what I think and feel. It's for the person who thinks the exact opposite as I do, and the person who thinks a little bit like I do, but not completely. I mean, it's for all of us.
Right.
You can't have it one way. You don't get to have it one way. That's not how freedom works.
Yeah.
To me, if I can't speak for anybody else, but if I see something like that bothers me or something, that's all I'm seeing. I'm seeing freedom of speech being, freedom alive and well right there. So I'm more encouraged by that than I am discouraged necessarily. I do think that too much of anything can be a bad thing. So certainly every house doing it or whatever. But I guess to me, I never got bent out of shape about the whole Christmas lights thing. I never got bent out of shape about somebody keeping a pumpkin out there too long. Again, as long as you're not interfering with other people's lives or yards or what have you, it's freedom of speech.
Yeah, and you see different signs out there too that are election signs, but they're causes. You'll see those out there as well, and that fits into the same kind of thing, same kind of question. So, we did have that come up a couple times. I'm sure the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department has dealt with that question because I do understand that people do want to move on. And some people don't, and some people just want to show what they believe in, and they have a right to do that.
We want to wear our sports teams. There are 100 houses out here right now with a Brewer or Packer flag out there. We encourage people to do that. We support that. It's not that different. The divisiveness that can exist, that's something that you've got to take the responsibility yourself on. That isn't something that is just organically created. That is something that human beings create for ourselves. We need a lot more than taking down signs to build those bridges back. We need to get better at that. That is something I will champion. But just as much, I will freedom of speech and people being able to live their lives in your house, you being able to do your thing. As long as there's no laws against it, which I appreciate having somebody who knows what they're talking about answering this question, that helps. And it's interesting to me too that you guys, the homework that you guys did on this, the research that you had to do.
Well, when we got asked that question, we wanted to make sure we answered it right. And Joe did a nice job digging into it and replying to the person that asked, and then they had a better understanding with it.
You sure it was Joe that did a good job? No, I'm kidding. I got to give him a hard time. I got to give him a hard time.
I can't wait to tell him you said that. I can't. Actually, could I call him right now?
Please do. Please. He'd be mad if I didn't do it. Take a shot or something
Probably.
like that.
Yeah,
love you, Joe. Love you, Joe.
Yeah. Nice comeback.
Let's take right. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. I gotta take a break. We'll do that. Come back. Wanted to talk a little bit about the UTV, ATV trails and some of that. We'll come back more here on Morning Magazine, WFHR.
It's time for part 2.
Welcome back, everyone. Wrapping up our conversation with our friends at the Wood County Sheriff's Department. I have Sheriff Shawn Becker in with us this morning. Looking forward to wrapping up the conversation and getting to a couple of more things with you. Yeah. Do want to remind you guys that you can call up 424-2600. The UTV, ATV trails, how's all that going, especially as we're getting towards this part of the year?
Yeah, our county board recently voted on opening up some of our county highways to UTV and ATV traffic. I really have to commend our highway commissioner, Roland Hawk, who took on this project. I know that he had been getting a lot of requests to, move forward and open up certain areas or all of the county, but he took a really strong look at what could or should be opened and did it with safety in mind. He had involvement with the sheriff's department. He went out and did a lot of research and taking a look at some of the county highways that really shouldn't have UTV, ATV traffic on it. And how he came about that is by doing traffic counts. And there was a certain threshold that if there was more than a couple thousand vehicles or 2,500 vehicles traveling, in a certain area, he just did not feel comfortable with having, adding UTVs and ATVs, in conjunction with, all the other traffic in there. And you know what? I agree with that. The research that he did and took on, he looked at it with safety in mind, because there's a lot of pressure there to open everything up. Nothing against Portage County. That was the direction that they decided to go. They opened everything up. All their county highways are open right now. They'll probably maybe modify things as they move forward, but they opened up, and hey, that's great. There is I understand a recreational value, but you got to look at the safety value or safety issues with that itself. You have to look at that as well. And Roland did an outstanding job by doing that, and that's how he gained the support of our agency to move forward with that. With that being said, the route system's online. Check out the Highway Department or the Parks Department will have what is open now and what's been updated. There's a lot of townships within the county that are already open. Some of the cities are open. Port Edwards, or the village of Port Edwards, and the city of Nakusa, they're open. But I tell everybody, hey, we're not every road is open. The city of Wisconsin Rapids or Marshfield is not. It's your duty, your diligence to take a look at what's open. Just don't jump into a UTV or ATV and leave, your residence. Make sure you know ahead of time. Otherwise, you could face being cited for being on a road that's not open. But we're, again, getting back to Roland Hawk and his department, the Highway Department, I commend them for really taking a hard look at this and saying, keeping safety in mind and moving forward with at least opening up a route system that does utilize some of our county highways. So again, with that being said, at the Sheriff's Department, we're taking an opportunity to look at creating a position, a supervisory position, that like a recreational sergeant or lieutenant or something, because now with this route system, established, not only be, with some of the town roads, but we have county highways also in the mix of this. UTVs and ATVs can probably be used almost year round now. All right. We do have a UTV for patrol purposes, but we do patrol. We do assign deputies to that, but now you have to remember all the other recreational opportunities that we have here in Wood County: snowmobiling, boating, and now UTV and ATV stuff. So we're taking a really strong look at creating that position to have somebody manage the patrol hours, getting out there and patrolling for all three of those programs. And we partner with the DNR quite a bit. In fact, we do get supplemented, hours back that we patrol back from the DNR. And so we have a strong partnership with them. And that's something that we're strongly looking at. And it's not that we're adding staff. We're probably just going to reassign somebody to that position as we move forward. So, that's the direction I really feel that we need to go now that the county has made this decision to move forward, to give people that recreational opportunity to utilize their UTV and ATVs more. Where we need to be out there, making sure people are doing it safely.
Those particular vehicles are one of the more popular things to do in the state, especially in central Wisconsin, Wood County here, and all of our surrounding counties. And then just any recreational vehicle in general, even we're talking about on the water, but more so on land here. Those are important things. The idea of having somebody in charge, sort of loosely putting that seems like a really good idea. Yeah. Also seems like it would hopefully free the rest of the staff up a little bit more to be able to focus on other things, which is kind of stemming from a lot of what we've talked about before about the job that you guys are asked to do. And when you started the job and where you are now and the amount of things that have been added to that job that really you should not be, on your plate. That's smart work right there.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to working with the Highway Department and the county, moving forward with in that direction with our Parks Department. And you bring up a good point. You look at other counties and what they've been doing and moving forward in the direction of this recreational opportunity. You still have to look at it as safety in mind. There's still a lot of things that and we looked at it. Some of our ordinances that we, all the state statutes still apply. Any state statute related to UTV, ATV operation still apply, but we looked at some things that weren't part of it, like requiring insurance. All right, I can drive my car on the road and I have to have insurance. Well, what about operating a UTV or an ATV? You don't. So again, we modified an ordinance like, hey, if you're on the road and you're operating a UTV, and you get stopped, you have to have insurance. And that's a common sense thing. And I'm hoping that, with what we're doing, creating that ordinance, that the state will piggyback that and require that at some time, because, this is a pretty big recreational movement moving forward in our entire state. Because if you start to travel north, you've got roads that are open up everywhere. I'm going to vacation next week in Vilas County. Everything's open.
Yeah.
As far as I know it is, just seeing it. And that's not just the only county. But getting back to what we did, and taking a look at, all right, moving forward with a route system, and again, giving our county board a lot of credit by, trusting Roland Hawk and what he did to establish this route system, utilizing some of our county highways. It was the right thing to do moving forward with. And, the Sheriff's Department now has an obligation, and we'll take that on very seriously moving forward to try to make this as safe as possible. Unfortunately, there are tragedies out there, and that's what they are. They're very hard for families and us to deal with, and we just want to make sure that people are safe about it and enjoying themselves.
I mean, the whole design for these things and these vehicles and these laws are so people can have fun and have it safe. And that's all the intention is out of any of this, is making sure that while you're having fun, it's safe, and other people are safe while that's going on.
No, I agree.
Did you have anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, the ski show.
Okay, that's where I wanted to wrap up too.
Yeah,
I thought that'd be a fun way to wrap up.
Yeah, it went great. A few weeks ago, I got to give it to our home team, the Aqua Skiers. I'm biased because I was on the team, but between, again, I always talk about teamwork, but that event went over just great. Huge crowds. Obviously, we didn't have it last year, but we had, all the teams came back, competing from all over Wisconsin and Illinois, and just a outstanding show. And it was safe. Most people, we didn't have many calls to service, and that just comes down to many, many people working together. It's not just the Sheriff's Department. We have a small part of it. Our rescue units out there from start to finish. You have United Ambulance. You have the Grand Rapids Fire Department, Grand Rapids Police Department. The safety folks with the Water Ski Federation. Again, our aqua skiers that host that, and all the work that goes into putting on that tournament. It starts planning now. I mean, the aqua skiers start planning like right now that tournament's done, they're planning for next year. And if you didn't get an opportunity to get out there, it went great. Huge crowds. Our local teams did great. Aqua skiers were competitive in Division One. When you're competing against Janesville and Madison and the Aquanauts of I believe the Milwaukee area, they put on a really good show. And then Shermelot down in Rome, they won Division Two. So you had really great representation from skiers that are local from central Wisconsin putting on just outstanding shows. But it just goes down to having that event. Again, it's great, and the teamwork to put it together was great. And our calls of service, we had a few more, but nothing major, nothing that we couldn't work through with the other law enforcement folks around here. And I'm really proud of the fact that that teamwork really shows, and it's a fun event. There's nothing like it in the country where you bring that much skiing to Southwood County. It's just it's an awesome event. It really is.
I was thinking about this, about the event with the Bucks winning their championship, and seeing the just fun going on in the city of Milwaukee and how much they were loving that, and cringing a little bit in the morning, worrying about seeing headlines that this car got turned over or whatever. Not too bad. A couple of things here and there, certainly, but nothing noteworthy, nothing that made the national news. That's a win right there, almost as much as the championship. It was really cool to come out of this. It's been a while since we've had everybody together. There things come up, things happen.
Yeah.
Nice to see that the event, like you said, maybe here or there, one or two things. But
which when you put that many people together, you're going to get something, but nothing major. And a few years ago, when I started here, a couple of years ago, we'll just leave it at that. We were really busy. Where we were having lots of calls to service, lots of issues, and it really boiled down to a lot of people sitting down and talking about how can we handle these issues, and it really boiled down to holding the skiers accountable that come into this community, And if they don't behave, then the team suffers.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that for a long time. And I'll tell you what, that made a huge, huge impact on as far as the law enforcement role of what was going on. So that's again, teamwork of a lot of people sitting down and talking about it. A couple of people that I'll mention are Mark Newman and Scott Mahaka were part of that, decision-making process of how do we hold some people accountable and moving forward. Well, what are they here for? They're here to ski. And if they can't ski because of their behavior, and then their team gets penalized, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that was a great decision that was made by some of our folks that are part of this whole event.
Congrats to you and the team, to everybody that participated, everybody that was a part of it. It was such a good thing to see a successful event and a fun event. I'm glad you guys had a good time. And as we're wrapping up in our last 10 seconds, I'll save it. I always save it to the very end. How about our White Sox, huh?
Yeah.
How about those Southsiders? Not bad. Not bad right now. It's fun. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, but I'm still a Brewer fan.
Yeah, right on. And I don't
They're
blame
first
you.
place.
I was just going to say,
The Cubs are
Brewers, no slouch, no slouches there with that. Yeah, we appreciate the time, and most importantly, appreciate everything you do for us. Keep up the great work. Stay safe out there. Please tell everybody hi for us over there.
Will do, James. You take care.
Will do. And a big thank you to Kevin and all of our friends over at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Appreciate you. We'll be back with more Morning Magazine tomorrow right here on AM 1320 WFHR, locally grown radio.